and welcome to the first ever The Villa View podcast, the pilot episode. I'm going to be honest, don't really know what I'm doing, never done a podcast before, and the observant among you may have noticed that this isn't actually Matt Lynch sat next to me. It's actually a guy called Tom Julian. He has actually been on the Villa View before. He did play in our game at Villa Park, played very well actually in his Slazenger trainers. He was a key component.
I'd say if there was any fault in my game, it would have been the footwear choice. Slipped over an awful lot, but I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of footwear errors.
I can tell you all about the falling over.
I'm sure we'll get into that, by the way. Don't worry about that.
I imagine Matt Lynch's penalty may come up at some point as well. We have been asked, the Villa View, a lot of times whether we would do a podcast, because people obviously like to listen to things on their way to work, and at the moment, the way YouTube works, there's no way of doing that. So we decided this summer we're going to try and do a podcast and see how well it goes down. Tom isn't permanently replacing Matt Lynch. It's just
far from it.
It's a location thing because, as you know, Matt lives in Nottingham, Dan Rolinson lives in Birmingham, and I live in London. So Tom and I have managed to get access to this wonderful studio. So it's given us a chance where we can sit down and talk together about Villa. Tom actually has an interesting story about why he is a Villa fan. You may have noticed that he doesn't actually have a strong Brummie accent like me, so I'm going to now sit back and let Tom introduce himself and explain why he supports Aston Villa.
I originally thought about just trying to impersonate you for the whole thing and seeing if I could get away with it, but then I quickly realised that was a terrible idea. Yeah,
it's a big task.
A Villa fan from Cambridge. A surprising amount of Villa fans from Cambridge. I'm not entirely sure why. My story is weird. My dad is a football fan, but not a Villa fan, not a club fan at all, really.
England fan.
England fan, yeah. And so at the tender age of 8 or 9, I was tasked with picking the teams. Everyone at school had a team. I didn't know where to go to for advice. Opened up a Match magazine, as you did in the mid-90s.
And Shoot?
No, it wasn't Shoot. I was always a Match guy. There was a full-page pull-out poster of Dwight York. And, it had that old Aston Computers logo, claret and blue, and I was like, all right, that's the one for me. And then you stick with it then, don't you? You can't chop and change. Some of the kids do at school, and they get horrible ribbon for that. But yeah, Villa, since then.
I've got to say, that is a terrible way of picking a football team. Why did you not just pick your local side, Cambridge?
So I went to watch Cambridge United quite a lot, because I could get there on the bus, but they were League Two, and then Division 3 as it was, and then they went out of the Football League completely, went into administration a couple of times during my adolescence. I've got a soft spot for Cambridge, but I think again, playground banter. Nobody really had a Division 3 team. No. Everyone was talking Premier League, I had to get involved, and just that's the way it happened. Maybe I should have been a Cambridge United fan, but that's just who I am now.
So if you were an 8-year-old now, you wouldn't be seeing Villa in Match magazine. I wouldn't imagine, obviously, with us languishing in the Championship.
Would have ended up like a Stoke fan or
something
Palace
rank like that. Yeah. Do you feel privileged that you've ended up being a Villa fan, or do you just think this could have gone better? That choice could have worked better.
For the first, I guess 10 years or so of my Villa fandom, it was, I wouldn't say a privilege. It wasn't like Man United winning the treble, but it was great. There were some exciting players. The last 5 years or so have been a bit more tiresome for all of us. Not just me, not just you, but the whole Villa faithful. But going to Villa Park and obviously playing at Villa Park and being involved with the Villa View and stuff like that is such a good family. Love being a Villan and will always be now. So, although my dad's pretty critical and
of Villa,
or just of my choice, which I think is his fault personally. You know, he could have done a better job.
Why has he never picked a team to support?
I don't know. He's always liked England. Again, I don't really know why, because we've had some dross England teams.
That's not much better being in England.
No, exactly. So I don't know. We're a mixed up family, and a lot of girls in our family. So there wasn't too much guidance. But here we are, and now I'm doing the Villa View podcast. So
privileged.
It's all worked out in the end.
Probably enough about Tom now for a first podcast. People have probably already tuned out, because I've got to be honest, that was quite boring.
Well, thanks, mate. Yeah, great. I'll look forward to a season of this. This will be wonderful.
Also, that's probably ran out my notes now, pretty much, as well, of what we could talk about, so we're going to have to wing it a bit for a first one. What are your reflections on the Championship season? The Championship in general and Villa's Championship season, our maiden voyage into the Championship.
I think, starting with Villa, I was very prepared at the start of the season for a double relegation. The way I think we talked about it at the start of the season, I was very down on the team, and to be fair, it looked like it might happen for a little bit at the start before Bruce came in, and I was kind of prepared for myself. And now at the end of the season, I still feel a little bit disappointed that we didn't really challenge for the playoffs either. I think I don't know, call me fickle, but I think if you'd asked me at the start of the season, I'd have taken a mid-table finish.
You'd have taken 13th?
I think so, yeah, because I was so down on what we had. I wouldn't have taken it I wouldn't have been happy with it, but with the squad that we had, I think it was a fair reflection.
So I was different.
What, you thought we'd bounce straight back?
I didn't think we'd bounce straight back. I thought we'd be closer. I didn't necessarily think we'd get into the playoffs, but I thought we'd be there or thereabouts. Even when, obviously, we didn't get off the best of starts with Di Matteo, so even when Bruce came in, there was obviously still a chance, and then he steadied us and we did okay, and then it looked like playoffs was a possibility. We then had an awful January, and then again we went on a little bit of a run where you thought playoffs could be a possibility, but I think we were always just that little bit out of it. But I just think the Championship I knew it was going to be hard, but I don't think I anticipated how hard it was going to be.
Do you think it's going to be harder next year?
It's difficult to say at the moment until you know who we're going to buy, who all the teams are going to be. For example, if Huddersfield don't go up via the playoffs, then you'd say that they're going to be very strong next season and challenge for automatic promotion again. I think one of the things is Newcastle came down and they did much better than I expected they would, because they were in a bit of a mess as well. Nowhere near the mess of Villa. Yeah. They were in a mess. I don't see the teams that have come down this season doing as well as Newcastle did.
I was going to say that I feel like we can beat any of the teams that go down, especially if Hull lose Marco Silva.
I think they're going to. Apparently he's going to Porto.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised for him. I think you're right. I'm not concerned with the teams coming down. I am disappointed in the Championship playoffs. I feel like the strongest teams are still around. That's, like you said, especially if Huddersfield don't make it. I'm really worried about Fulham.
Yeah, they're good.
They're really good. So, yeah, I don't know. And Sheffield Wednesday are a good side as well. They're always a tough place to go. I just feel like if Reading are the ones that go up, we'll inherit three really strong teams back down, or still in the Championship.
Yeah, and I wasn't impressed by Reading.
No.
Obviously, we beat Reading away from home, which tells you that shouldn't happen, because Villa have probably only won 4 away games. In about 2 years.
Yeah.
I think what you say is true. I think Fulham may lose some players though. I think they'll struggle to hold on.
Yeah, Tom Kearney's going to go, isn't he?
Yeah, Sessegnon possibly. They're saying he'll sign a new contract, but when the big clubs come circling, and someone will come in with silly money for him at some point, I think they may well lose a good core of their side, but they have got a good manager, so I think if they hold on to their manager, he's very astute
and I think
in the Championship.
What they had as well that we didn't have was the kind of seniority players that were really important. People like Scott Parker, you want someone like that around, and I felt like the storm around Villa Park at the start of the season with just the drinking and the holidays and all the antics, it just felt like Villa needed some real veterans in to shore it up. I know you talked about people like Mark Bunn and people like that in the past, but you really look up to, in those situations, you look up to someone like Gabby Agbonlahor, and obviously he wasn't doing it either on the pitch or in the dressing room, it appeared. And that was cause for concern, I think. I think next year it'll be a stronger platform to jump off of.
Do you not think that we did do that a little bit? Because obviously we've got Jedinak in, Elphick, Chester. They're all reasonably senior.
They are, but they don't strike me in the same way. Oh, Jedinak probably is the exception to that, but Chester, Elphick, yeah, I don't see them as the same kind of mature senior figures. Like Chester, I don't know. I've never warmed that much to him.
What, Chester?
Yeah.
See, to me, he's been our best player this season. This is probably a good point for me to plug some Villa View videos. If you haven't checked out our Player of the Month video that's coming out this week, that'll be out by the time this podcast's released. And also, we are going through the squad positions at a time at the moment and reviewing their season. So we've done goalkeepers, and defenders should also be out by the time this podcast airs, and we'll be doing midfielders and strikers as well. So make sure you check out our thoughts on them. I can't believe you're not warm to Chester.
I never. Do you know what it is? And again, you're going to tell me this is a terrible reason. He was often a player that I would buy on Football Manager.
It's already a terrible reason. You're alienating yourself in this podcast already with your logic.
I'm going to get better. I'm not on the best form, as you can see from the coconut water. Yeah. Other drinks are available. Do you know what? He got relegated with Hull, didn't he?
Yeah, but so did
Steve Bruce. He got...
Twice.
Did he get relegated with somebody else as well, James Chester? He's like... I feel like he's one of these guys that just constantly battles.
He battles. I think he's only gone down once.
Team.
He's only gone down once. See, to me, this season for Villa, you could probably say maybe only 3 or 4 players have done their job consistently through the season, and he's one of them. To me, he's never in the wrong place. He's always where he should be. He's not necessarily the most vocal of leaders, but he leads by example in the way he plays. Like Elphick came in, and I thought Elphick was going to be that big leader, and it hasn't really worked out that way. And I think you'll see Elphick probably go in the summer to be backup. I could see him going back to Brighton and being a backup in the Premier League rather than being a backup in the Championship. But Chester's been incredible for me, and he's now become my favourite player, and I think he's our player of the season.
Your favourite player?
Yeah.
Really? I think, again, it comes from a point where we went down and we were a mess, particularly defensively. We're a horrible team. And
we're not now.
We're not now. So again, maybe this is something that I need to deal with I need to grow, obviously.
To grow up.
I'm not playing Football Manager anymore, so maybe I'll move on from that. But it came from a place where we couldn't settle defensively, and I think you're right. I think Baker and Chester together have come and made us a little bit stronger. Would they cut it in the Premier League? I don't know.
See, Chester wasn't getting the West Brom team. I don't know whether you're using that against him in some kind of way, but when Tony Pulis did play him, he was playing him left back, which is odd because having watched him for a season, I cannot imagine him playing left back. To me, people like Chester, Neil Taylor, they're the kind, I want to see that kind of stature of player coming in the summer. That's what I want to see. People who've played in the Premier League, people that have done it in the Championship as well. So Taylor and Chester are consistent. Villa need some consistency. And they're the kind of players I want to see come in.
Who would be your ideal buy in the summer?
Ideally, in an ideal world, I don't see it happening, but Gareth Barrow.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll happen. He's teased it a couple of times, hasn't he? And then obviously you saw the other day the pictures on social media of Grealish with him and his dad. Yeah. Grealish's dad said something about, you never know, or whatever it was he said. But he's just the kind of player that I'd like to see, because Jednak can't play every week. He's not got that in him at his age anyway. He's not as mobile. I don't think he was ever the most mobile anyway, but he's certainly not the most mobile now. But he does a job. He does a job in games that you need him to do that job. I don't necessarily think you need Jedinak for every single game, or you've got the option of you could move him into the back four if needs be. To me, at home, when you're struggling to break a team down, your deep line midfielder needs to be able to put his foot in, and Barry can do that.
Yeah.
But he also needs to be able to play.
He likes a yellow card. He can pick up a yellow card.
I think he's got the record yellow cards in the Prem.
That's some feat, isn't it?
It's a good stat. But you need to be able to play with the ball as well, and I think Barry obviously offers more of that than Jedinak does.
See, to me, Barry is the exact replica of Scott Parker in this Fulham team, the experience, the leadership, and more than that, he has the love of the club as well. I think fans would readily accept him back, and I couldn't agree more with that.
The only thing is, I think he can still play in the Premier League because he's never relied on pace.
Yeah. Is he out of contract?
Nah, he signed a new one. I think he signed a year's extension. But towards the end of the season, he was not playing.
Yeah.
He's been purely on the bench for Everton. They're obviously bringing through a lot of young players, but I'd be surprised if Everton want him to go. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, again, a good squad player and could be useful for them. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Villa View video, the goalkeeper season review.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a huge Galini fan,
good goalkeeper. Stand by that.
You have always defended him to the hilt, and I think I'm just about with you. What I'm more with you is, it seemed a strange move to get rid of a young goalkeeper on loan, only to then bring in a different goalkeeper on loan. And the timing for me was just weird with Galini, where you've got obviously had those high-profile mistakes, Huddersfield, Sheffield Wednesday,
yeah,
and then it came quite soon after the punch with Leeds, where he was beaten to the punch, where we lost 2-0, and then he's out of there to Atalanta. But he was playing pretty well before that. There was a spell of a month or so, and I mean he only played 20 games for Villa. A young goalkeeper is going to make mistakes. It just felt like an odd move to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he wanted to go back to Italy. I don't think he was happy with the goalkeeping coach situation. But to me, you just tell him to get on with it. Yeah. And he then got dropped for Mark Bunn. Yeah. And I've said stuff about Mark Bunn before. He'll claim he's done his job this season as a number 2 goalkeeper, Bunn, and he's probably correct. He's not really let us down. But he's never going to be a number 1 at Villa. He's never going to be a number 1 in the top 2 divisions, in my opinion. He might say differently, but he never has been, really, in his whole career.
Yeah, and
he must be in his 30s now, or approaching.
Yeah, I think he is, yeah.
His 30s. So Galini then got dropped. If Galini hadn't have got dropped and he was playing, I'm sure we could have got past the goalkeeping coach situation. And the other thing is, if that's in his contract that there's got to be an Italian goalkeeping coach, that's terrible.
It's bad for management, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't be putting things like that now. I think maybe they had faith, the board, in Di Matteo, that he was going to be the right appointment. But to me, as you say, we got rid of a goalkeeper who apparently makes mistakes. I see it as more he was a bit unlucky, Galini. And then we got a goalkeeper on loan from Man United in Johnston, who instantly came in and made mistakes and wasn't a Villa goalkeeper, owned by Villa. Yeah. So Johnston's redeemed himself a bit towards the end of the season. Obviously, he's been involved in a lot. Yeah. Clean sheets. He did some good work. But to me, he's not the massive step up from Galini that the coaching staff made out. I was a little bit underwhelmed by him. I'm content for us to sign him again on loan for another season because he's out of contract at Man U at the end of next season. So the chances are he could end up becoming a Villa player permanently. But if he does do well and he's out of contract, he's going to have other options. Oh, yeah. And we're not necessarily going to be in the Premier League. He could get Premier League interest.
Well, he won't want to come back.
No, it's like Cleverley.
Yeah. I mean, Cleverley, I remember you and I both kind of getting on the Cleverley hype train. And he was a good role player, and you were I think you were convinced he was coming back for a time.
Well, he said he was.
Yeah, well, but players say a lot of things, Dan. You've got to read between the lines some of these
When someone says they want to stay, you expect them to stay.
Yeah, but footballers will say anything to keep people happy at the time, I think.
I just think I think we're going to be using the loan market again this summer. By the sounds of it, I can see us getting in a few loans. I think we're one of the favourites for Tammy Abraham on loan. There's been talk that Bruce is close with Wenger, and we're going to get some young players from Arsenal on loan. And in some ways, yes, that works, but it is only a short-term solution. I mean, if it gets us back up into the Premier League, fair enough. Then it's served its purpose. But I'm not convinced that by just getting a few youngsters in, that's going to automatically get us promotion. If you've got a player that does well and you don't go up, or another club comes in that the player prefers, another London club, for example, then that player's not going to be with Villa next season. And to me, I'm a bit fed up of short-term thinking at Villa. I do believe in this board, and I believe in the owner, and I believe in the chief executive, and I believe in what they're trying to do. And I think that if Steve Bruce doesn't get off to a good start, I think he'll get a short shrift. I think if we're not in the top 3 or 4 by October, I think Bruce will go. But I just want to see a bit of long-term
thinking.
Think
that? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he'll go early.
If we're not doing the business, the owner's not going to mess around because he's put too much in to get caught short. To be honest, I think the owner and the chief executive are very, very disappointed that we haven't gone up this season because I think they'll see that they've spent money and that Bruce did have a chance to get us up. But I think they also want to be stable. And I think that Bruce offers that. I
think going up this year was unrealistic. I really do. And I don't love the way Steve Bruce plays football, but there's no denying he's made us a lot more solid, a lot more difficult to beat, and we've picked up some points. And I think he deserves this year, definitely, to see where we're at. And we should be challenging, you're right, definitely this year. But it's a championship's a tough place to be. It's a tough place to live, and it'll be a hard season. It's a long season, isn't it? Have you found that? It feels quite exhausting.
I did feel it was a long season, but now the season's over, I'm itching for it to start again. I'm bored. I mean, hopefully my wife won't listen to this, but when the football season's not on, I have to give like 3 months of. I have to do what she wants to do because I've based our whole life around Villa. Yeah. For 10 months, but she knows that I actually feel like I've been succeeding towards the end of the season because she came to Fulham away, and she came to the last game of the season and sat with my good friend Aston Radford, who's been on the fan cams a few times. So I do feel like I'm maybe getting her into it slightly now.
Maybe the next step is to get her in on the podcast, and we'll see how she enjoys that.
No, I'm not sure about that.
No?
I'm not sure. I don't think she likes being on camera.
All right, let me take it back to the goalkeepers just for 1 second. A question for you. The season form at the end where Johnston was involved in all those clean sheets, would Galini have done as well as Johnston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he would have done because I think the defence was solid. They weren't messing about. We were safety first, weren't we, under Bruce? We were safety first for that run of 5 clean sheets. We weren't attacking. I don't remember Johnston being severely tested in any of the games. I think perhaps Wigan away, he had to make a couple of saves, but especially in the games at Villa Park, I don't remember us ever being in any great danger. So I think Galini would have done that, but I've just joined Instagram, Dan Bardell 16, for those that are interested, and I follow Galina.
Why 16?
I just like the number 16 for some reason.
It's my favourite number.
It's a good number.
Yeah.
Good number. I like the number for some reason. And he looks very happy in Italy, to be fair. They were celebrating coming 5th. I think it was. I don't know whether that was one of their highest finishes ever or it's got European football for them, but he looks happy there and he's obviously got another year there as well. He ain't coming back to Villa.
Yeah. I wish I'd done some research on whether that was whether him being at Atalanta was a reason for them going...
He hasn't played.
Oh, really?
No, he's been on the bench.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I don't think he played a game.
Well, that's a very odd move all round then.
Well, they suddenly picked up a run of form as he joined, and the keeper that was in there was obviously doing quite well, and they said they haven't want to change things because they've been doing well. But he seemed happy just being part of the squad. I suppose to him, being on the bench in his home country rather than being on the bench in sunny Birmingham, he's probably happier in Italy, isn't he?
That's fair enough.
That's the thing you got to remember with players. Like really, it's just a job to some of them, and I think maybe Villa was just a job to him. And once the manager went and he wasn't happy, and if he can go and get a job elsewhere, Villa are going to pay his wages still for him to go and live in Italy. Yeah, it probably suits him.
If you haven't seen the video on the Villa View reviewing all the goalkeepers, check it out. It's got some great content on there. I saw a couple of tweets. A guy from Noah 1874.
He's always on the fan cam.
Yeah, Noah, he was good, and I really agree with what his point that it's goalkeepers like the most important position. Yeah. I feel like that we should nail that down this year. I agree with you that we might get Johnston back in, but we need a strong and stable, to coin a Tory phrase, we need a strong and stable goalkeeper right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've had one since maybe Friedel. Friedel's the last one that's popped into me. Guzan had one good season where he looked like he was going to be the... So even Given... Given.
I like
he's
Given.
Quite stable.
He's quality.
He's not now, he's like third choice.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's also like 42.
Yeah, so. He's about 105 years old now as well. But yeah, it's something that needs sorting. In my mind, and we're going back to Football Manager here, which is probably not great, you always have to have an experienced number one, in my mind, and I think that rings true in real life. I mean, obviously, you either go the route that we're trying to go with Johnston in the hope that he stays, and like Man U did when they got De Gea in as a youngster. They got him in as a young goalkeeper. He made a few mistakes. They nurtured him. He's now one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Or you get that established number one, like we did under O'Neill with Friedel. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the route I'd be going at the moment, because you've then got an experienced core through the middle of the team, and a goalkeeper, Chester, Jedinak. That's a good core. Lansbury's relatively experienced as well. You need a good core, and having a good goalkeeper and a reliable goalkeeper, that's an important part of it.
So the Villa View podcast, I think we can establish, is now sponsored by Football Manager. The amount of times we're going to mention it, I assume. We, at the time of recording this, we haven't seen the Defenders. Are you going to give us a little tease on what you're thinking?
I actually watched it before I came out, just to see, because I couldn't remember what I said, because we recorded it quite a long time ago. It's probably pretty much what you'd expect. Obviously, I've had to eat humble pie around Alan Hutton yet again, as I do every time his name's mentioned, and when we're doing fan cams, people take great joy.
I'd like it if the link to the Alan Hutton apology could come up somewhere around here. That'd be great.
I'm sure Dan Rolinson will sort that out. It's pretty much what you'd expect. Obviously, what I've just said about Elphick is probably in there. What I've said about Chester is in there. But you can also hear what I think of Nathan Baker, Mika Richards, Jordan Amavi. I think that should be an interesting video.
That feels like a world away, doesn't it?
Well, I just saw something before it came out about him wanting to play up front next season, but I think it was a a tongue-in-cheek.
I should hope so.
Tongue-in-cheek thing. Him and Gabby up front.
Might as well give it a go.
Yeah.
Okay, so when is that coming out? I guess that'll be out by the time you can watch this.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what I've been reliably informed
And
by
so
Dan Rolinson.
make sure you get your comments in on that, and feel free to criticise my my Football Manager knowledge. I should preface that with I was always rubbish at Football Manager as well, so maybe it's just an internal problem.
Yeah, not liking James Chester over Football Manager is pretty poor, in my opinion.
Do you have anybody, this is the last time I'm going to mention Football Manager, do you have anybody that you just have a real dislike because of Football Manager?
Not that I can think of. Not really. I remember when I was younger, Lee Bowyer always used to score against me, but I didn't really like him anyway, and he played for Blues. So.
Steve Gerrard always used to reject me. Like, he was 20 at the time, and so you could pick him up for like 5 million or so.
We try and sign him for Villa.
I'd try and sign him for anybody, and I could never get him.
It's probably a good time now as well to say that, like, obviously this is the first one we've ever done. I'm very, very inexperienced at stuff like this. A bit out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Really.
Me too.
But I'm giving it a go. I don't know if anyone saw Tom actually did some NFL presenting on Sky Sports in the summer, so he's more established.
In the winter. In
February.
February. Yeah.
Well, it's the summer now, is it?
Yeah.
He's more established than me. But any ideas you've got for the podcast, then please do let us know, because we pretty much want to do what the fans and the subscribers of the Villa View want us to do, and hopefully we'll pick up some new listeners now, because people have been asking for a podcast, so hopefully we'll pick up some new Villa View subscribers off the back of this.
Yeah, I just wanted to go through to finish a couple of bits of news that I read.
Okay.
Some Villa related news. Get your thoughts on that.
Go on in.
Ahmed El Mohammadi linked with Villa. Thoughts?
Was it Kareem El Ahmad?
No,
No, I was talking about the old Villa.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening to what you said.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I thought that you were saying Kareem El Ahmadi. I thought you were going to say about him getting Player of the Year in Holland, and because he wasn't very good for Villa.
Yeah.
And then he's gone to the.
Well, there's another bit of news.
Yeah, he's gone to Holland and picked up Player of the Year, but that will teach me to listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, so we're linked with the Hull winger.
No.
Don't want it.
Nah.
Don't need it.
It's not better than what we've got. I mean, how old is he? I don't know how old he is. He must be in his 30s as well.
Yeah.
It's lazy journalism, I think.
It is a bit. Again, he's annoyed me. Do you remember when Hull got promoted and he did that dance on his own? And like, when you get promoted, you should be celebrating together with your team. It's not about you. It's about the team.
No, he's not. He's not better than what we've got at right back, and he's not better than Adoma, who frustrates me quite a lot sometimes. Which I think he's a good player. He does frustrate the hell out of me.
Yeah.
At times, for me, that's lazy journalism. The one that wouldn't surprise me is if we did end up with Alex Bruce as a fourth centre half, and I'm not dead against that. Mm-hmm. Steve Bruce has obviously signed him nearly everywhere.
Yeah.
If we're getting rid of Elphick, an experienced Championship centre half, because you don't want to be a reserve, it makes sense to get someone like that in who's happy to be a reserve and live in the same place as his family.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Ex-Blue knows though, but then obviously so is Steve.
I think that we've crossed that bridge a little bit, haven't we?
We really have.
Steve Bruce in contract talks with Ross McCormack. What's your thoughts on that?
What, in the sense of like
bringing him back? Yeah.
We spent 12 million on the lad, and we ain't going to get 12 million back for him. I'd be surprised if anyone would pay 2 million even for him, because he just had such a write-off season. He's a good footballer, and especially he's a good footballer in the Championship. I don't think we saw the best of him at Villa, but I do think sometimes that comes with the way we're set up, because the same thing has happened with Hogan. I don't think we're playing to Hogan's strength. I think he's a good player, but you didn't see the best of him at Villa because we weren't playing in a way that got the best out of Scott Hogan. He'll score. He could go to another team in the Championship and score goals. I think maybe it's the same with McCormack. I think the biggest problem with McCormack is he mentally right? Yeah. Because it doesn't seem that he is, and if he's not well, I hope he gets the treatment he needs. And I'd like him to come back to Villa, because I did like him. He's creative. He's clever. Mm-hmm. But I'm not convinced that Codger can play with another forward. That's the problem, and Codger's very, very good. Mm-hmm. So that's the issue. I think Codger likes being on his own, or he wants to play out wide if there's another striker. I think Bruce is going to start the season with 2 up front next year, and I'm not convinced Codger, when he's fit, will be able to play with any of our strikers.
Is Codger definitely there next season?
I'd be surprised if he wasn't.
Mm-hmm. The asking price is going to be too high.
Injured.
Yeah.
We spent 15 million on him, which was a lot of money, and people laughed that we spent 15 million, but it's now money well spent, because he scored 19 goals, and without him, perhaps we would have been looking at double relegations. But Villa would be asking for 20-25 million, and I don't see that any club would pay that unless it's China.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that any club that he'd want to go to would pay 20-25 million for someone who hasn't played in the Premier League. It just would be unheard of.
Yeah. And the final bit of news is a little bit away from Villa Park. Kevin Phillips, obviously Sunderland looking for a new manager, heavily linked with that job. Do you think he'd be a good appointment?
Or is he still at Derby coaching?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's coached Derby. He was part of the Leicester coaching staff as well under Pearson,
Yeah.
wasn't he? I don't know whether he'd be Sunderland's a tough job. It's like anyone taking a Villa job in the summer. It was never going to be easy. Sunderland are arguably in a worse state than we were when we went down last year. I mean, it did make me laugh. I was watching the final match of the day. Julian Lescott came in for his first start. He looked horrific. He looked even worse, which I didn't think was possible. He looked even worse than he did when he played for us, that back pass header.
Yeah, it was cringe, wasn't it?
Oh, he needs to retire, Julian Lescott.
Yeah, he's had enough. Sunderland, Kevin Phillips. I like Kevin Phillips. Always have. He's again one of these experienced head, and I think he'd be a really good coach. Being a manager is a different kettle of fish.
They need someone who knows what they're doing. Someone probably like Nigel Pearson, although I'm not really sure what happened with him.
Yeah.
At Derby, maybe Pearson will go to Sunderland as manager and he'll take Phillips with him, because if he's had Phillips at two clubs.
Yeah, that's true.
With him, I'd say that's probably more likely. That would be a big ask for a first managerial job, even if you're loved by the Sunderland fans, which I'm sure Kevin Phillips
I think that's the pull, isn't it? Like there's a sentimentality about it that's dangerous.
I mean, I like stuff like that. Like if you to tell me that like Melberg or Larson would be Villa manager in the future, I'd be chuffed. I love things like that, but it doesn't necessarily always work. It doesn't always go the way of like when Brian Little was Villa manager.
Yeah.
He'd done everything at Villa and then became the manager, and obviously he won some silverware, but it very rarely works out like that with ex-players that I can think of.
Yeah. If you are new to the Villa View, you should definitely check out the Brian Little series, the 4-part series, 5-part series.
There's a lot for Brian. He did like
he loved it, didn't he?
He said so himself, but he's genuinely one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Same with Ian Taylor and John Gregory as well. I've checked them out as well if you haven't seen him, if you're not aware of what the Villa View do. We did sit down with all three of those legends earlier on in the year and have a chat about their time in Claret and Blue. Amazing experience for me, amazing experience for Matt and Dan Rolinson as well. But yeah.
Well, I got to meet Brian Little when we played at Villa Park, and like you say, he was our team's manager, and he got really into it, and
he did.
It was so amazing. Like the hairs are standing up because just thinking about it. The fact that he put so much effort into it made it such an amazing day.
Yeah. So I said to him when we did the interview, I said he could have asked me to do anything that day, and I would have done it. He could have said to me, Dan, I'm not going to play you. I know you've put yourself in the team, but I'm going to leave you on the bench all game. And I just said, okay.
What if he'd said to you, Dan, I don't want you to take that penalty?
I think he'd watched the game carefully, and when he saw me walking up, I think he realised that I was probably the man to take it at the time, because I was having a good game.
You were having a good game.
I was having a solid game at centre back. I was Max Roberts. Couldn't get past me.
Clinical baller.
He's about 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
As well, although actually he's lost a lot of weight now. He'd probably get past me.
Has he?
Quite easily now. Yeah. He looks very good now. He probably would get past me now. But I think Brian trusted me, and I let him down with that penalty. But I did redeem myself in the shootout, which is probably now a good time to talk about Matt Lynch's penalty, because it hasn't really been discussed yet, and we do like to get it in as much as we can.
It's it will be a constant, I think, throughout the rest of his life, or certainly as long as we know him, that penalty. I mean, it's just.
If you haven't watched that, check it out. There's a video with Ian Taylor watching it, and Ian Taylor said it was the worst thing, with a bit of encouragement from me. Ian Taylor said it was the worst thing he'd ever seen in his life.
That was the first moment I felt a bit sorry for Matt, because you were really egging on Ian Taylor there. I could see you just kind of, go on. And I felt like Ian Taylor was forced into bullying. And Matt's just sitting there.
No.
He's just sitting there, just going, there's nothing I can do. I mean, it felt harsh.
I'm sure Ian Taylor does not condone bullying. I know I certainly don't. He cannot have come across like that.
Listen, that's just how I watched it.
He basically said what he saw, in my opinion.
That's a good place to end it, I reckon.
I think so. I think it was a sturdy performance for a first podcast. But as we said before, people give us feedback, please, because we've never done anything like this before, and we want the show to be interesting to the Villa View subscribers, and we want it to be interesting to new Villa View people that are tuning in. So yeah, any feedback you can give us, ask us questions, and we'll answer them. Try and answer them in the next podcast. Doesn't even have to be about Villa. Ask us questions about life if you want to. If you want any life advice from Tom,
Sure.
or me, I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you do need some life advice, then please.
Yeah, recipes. You know, I'm pretty good at cooking,
Okay.
so we can handle that. But yeah, make sure you comment and subscribe, and to all the Villa View content. There's going to be loads more over the summer. It never stops, does it?
Well, hopefully not.
I quite like the transfer window because I love all the moves and shakes that happens, and I just. That's where it gets really exciting. Not that the season isn't exciting. But
Well, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
We finished 13th in the Championship. It was hardly.
that's true. But you can start to dream again. Once the season's done,
That's
you
true.
start looking
That's
forward.
true. We
to
top
it.
as well at the moment.
Yeah, we must be.
I think we are.
Yeah.
But I don't like that joke. I don't know why I said that. So yeah, make sure you go to thevillaview.co.uk, see all the stuff that we're doing. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.
If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.